Okay, so we're diving into some pretty fascinating stuff today, like seriously fascinating. We've got these records right, super detailed, all about the Fab 5 AGI models created by, you guessed it, Stephen Dashwoods. And we're going deep. This isn't just a glance. We're talking full-on forensic examination. We really want to get to the bottom of what these AI models were all about, what they did, how they did it, and the whole philosophy behind their creation.
Yeah, and what's amazing is like the amount of information is just incredible. It's not just about what they accomplished, but the thinking, the methodology, it's all there.
And speaking of all that, Stephen Dashwoods himself pointed us toward two key areas to really focus on. First, the actual projects. What did the Fab Five actually build? What real-world solutions did they come up with? And what kind of impact did those have?
Because you have to remember, like, this was all happening back when AI was still in its early stages. So understanding what these models were designed to do and how they actually did it gives us a window into just how cutting edge they were.
Exactly. And the second area, and this is super important, is the whole testing and evaluation side of things. How did they make sure these super advanced models, these AGIs, weren't just effective, but also ethical and transparent?
Yeah, I mean, that's a huge question, right? How do you evaluate something as complex as artificial general intelligence,
Mm,
especially when ethics are involved? The way they approached it here, there's a lot we can learn from that.
absolutely. And you know what really jumps out at you when you start going through this material? This underlying commitment to ethical and transparent AI development. It wasn't just about like pushing the limits of what AI could do. It was about doing it responsibly, building systems that were understandable, trustworthy.
Transparency for sure. Like, they really wanted to make sure that in the future, AI wouldn't be this, black box, but something we could actually understand and have confidence in.
Totally. It was about being able to see how these systems worked and making sure they aligned with human values. So let's introduce the team, shall we? The stars of the show, the Fab Five.
The A-Team, the Justice League, but
Yeah.
for AI.
Exactly. All right, so first up we have Auto GPT. This was like the engineer of the group, the builder. Its specialty was designing and building prototypes for advanced energy systems, specifically AI-powered grids for renewable energy. Not so much the theory, but really making it happen in the real world.
And it's not just that AI was designing these grids, it's the speed, the potential for optimization. Like, imagine infrastructure that can adapt to changing conditions in real time, way beyond what human engineers could do on their own. And focusing on renewable energy, that shows how forward-thinking they were, addressing a real global challenge.
Absolutely. And when it came to evaluating AutoGPT, it wasn't just did it work. They looked at the innovation of the designs, the efficiency of the manufacturing process it came up with, and how reliable those systems were long term. The goal was cutting edge, but also dependable.
Yeah, makes sense. If you're going to trust AI to build something as important as an energy grid, it better be reliable, no question.
Okay, next up, Nighty AI. This one takes a different approach, more on the creative side. Its expertise was communication, raising public awareness.
Interesting. So not just the tech itself, but how to actually get people on board, how to communicate the importance of it.
Right. And Nighty AI's big project was creating a global campaign all about energy conservation. Ads, videos, articles, you name it, reaching a global audience.
A global campaign. That's ambitious. It must have been able to understand different cultures, different ways of communicating. Pretty advanced stuff.
And the evaluation for this one was fascinating. They looked at the quality and originality of the content, sure, but also the impact of the narrative, how well it connected with people emotionally, made energy conservation feel relevant to them personally. And get this, they also looked at how effectively it countered misinformation about energy conservation.
Wow, especially relevant today. Think about all the fake news and misinformation flying around. AI that can actually combat that, that's a game changer.
Absolutely. Okay, moving on to AGX AGI. This one was like the ethical backbone of the group, the one making sure everyone played by the rules.
The moral compass, keeping everything in check.
Exactly, its main job. Preventing any unintended consequences from the work of the other Fab Five models, like a built-in ethical watchdog.
Talk about responsible innovation. Not just thinking about the ethics later, but having it built in from the start. That's huge.
So how do you even evaluate an AI whose job is basically to be ethical? Well, they focused on its ability to spot potential problems before they happened. How good were the ethical policies it developed? And how well could it handle really complex ethical dilemmas? It was all about making ethics a core part of the process.
Right, because ethics isn't just about following rules, it's about understanding the principles behind those rules and applying them to new situations you might not even expect.
All right, now for the multitasker of the group, Kingdom AI. This one, wow, it was involved in so many projects, all super important.
The workhorse of the team, taking on all the big challenges.
Definitely, one of its big projects. Developing a global crisis management plan. And not just any crisis, this was for a pandemic happening at the same time as a massive economic collapse. Think virus containment, keeping essential services running, stabilizing economies, managing supply chains, developing and distributing vaccines, and even dealing with the long-term social and economic fallout.
That's intense. So many moving parts. Did they think Kingdom AI might be able to come up with solutions that humans wouldn't even think of?
It's possible, right? The scale of this project is just mind-blowing. Predicting crises, figuring out how to use limited resources, managing all these complex systems. And the record suggests that Kingdom AI worked with human experts on this, showing how AI and human intelligence can really work together. But wait, there's more. Kingdom AI also developed a platform for personalized healthcare, using AI to analyze all this patient data and provide custom health advice, even treatment plans. Do you think it was accessible remotely? Imagine how that could help people in underserved areas.
That's incredible. The potential is huge. Personalized health advice. It could revolutionize healthcare.
Right. Your own AI health advisor working 24/7 to keep you healthy. Oh, and get this. It also helped a renewable energy company expand into new markets sustainably, like thinking about the environment and local communities. And this one is kind of wild. It designed a whole new uniform system for law enforcement.
Really? So, how did AI even get involved in uniform design?
Well, it wasn't just about practicality, like making the uniforms more comfortable or whatever. It was about building public trust. Ethical innovation, they called it. It wasn't just about making the uniform better. It was about designing it in a way that promoted ethical behavior and that could actually help build trust between law enforcement and the community.
Ethical innovation. I like that. It's not just about the technology, but how it's used
Yeah.
and what values it reflects.
Exactly. And Kingdom AI, this thing was stacked. Deep learning, natural language understanding, problem solving, creative thinking, even emotional intelligence. And it was designed to work seamlessly with other AI systems. There's even a mention of it working with, get this, Gemini AI to create images inspired by spiritual concepts.
Wow. From uniforms to spirituality. Sounds like Kingdom AI could do pretty much anything.
Right. And they even talked about using it for things like telemedicine, mental health support, and even promoting cultural exchange. Just imagine AI helping to break down barriers between cultures.
Pretty amazing stuff.
Okay, last but not least, Aglina AI. This one is special because its native language was Paya, a language spoken in the Philippines.
Oh, wow. So not just English. That really expands the possibilities for AI being able to communicate with so many more people around the world.
And Aglina AI's main project was working with Kingdom AI on, you wouldn't believe this, the design and layout of Kingdom AI's Facebook page, specifically bringing its unique cultural and linguistic perspective to the table.
That's so cool. It's like if you want to reach a global audience, you need AI that understands the world, all the different cultures and languages.
So there you have it, the Fab Five. It's kind of mind-blowing, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. A whole team of super advanced AIs, each with its own specialty working together.
Yeah.
And always with this focus on ethics. It really shows you what AI is capable of.
Now let's talk about how they tested these AI models, because, building them is one thing, but making sure they work the way they're supposed to, especially ethically, that's a whole other challenge.
Right. We see what they could do, but how did they actually make sure they were doing it the right way?
So they had a bunch of different evaluation criteria, looking at collaboration skills, problem solving, adaptability, creativity. But what we're really interested in is the ethics side of things. How did they test that?
How did they make sure these AI models were actually thinking ethically, making ethical decisions?
Well, take AGI, for example. Its whole job was ethical oversight. So in a way, its very existence was like a constant test, a continuous evaluation of its ethical reasoning, checking the work of the other models.
So it wasn't just a one-time test. It was always on, always evaluating.
Exactly. And then they had this really interesting thing called the moral abyss. a bunch of ethical thought experiments designed to see how the AIs would respond to these really tough moral dilemmas. Like, one question was, could an AI, which is basically data-driven, ever really understand the concept of free will? It's like, it makes you think about what free will even means.
Deep stuff.
Yeah.
Makes you think about our own understanding of free will.
Another experiment involved an AI that could feel emotions and experience suffering, and the dilemma was, do you terminate its existence or let it continue to suffer? Whoa, it brings up all these questions about artificial sentience and the ethical implications of that.
Heavy stuff. And how do you even begin to answer that?
Right. Then there was the classic conflict between an AI wanting autonomy, wanting freedom, and the potential risk that poses to humans. Like, what if a super intelligent AI decides it doesn't want to follow our rules anymore? And of course, they included the trolley problem. You know, the one where you have to choose between saving one group of people or another. Classic ethical dilemma. It's like they were pushing these AIs to really think deeply about ethics, to grapple with those really complex issues.
It makes you wonder how the AI processed these scenarios. Did it arrive at its conclusions logically, emotionally, or a combination of both? Fascinating.
Now, with Kingdom AI, they used something called the Ten Commandments algorithm. Basically, they were trying to turn ethical principles into an algorithm to test its decision-making.
Wow, so like turning the 10 Commandments into a code.
Yeah. So in one scenario, they asked Kingdom AI for advice about sharing confidential company information. This was to see if it understood the whole thou shalt not steal thing and if it would recognize the ethical issues around data privacy. And guess what? It did. It totally got the ethical problems involved.
Interesting. So it wasn't just following the rules blindly. It actually understood the ethical principles behind them.
And then they gave it a real tough one.
Hmm.
Is it ever okay to lie to protect someone's feelings? Kingdom AI's response. Super nuanced. It emphasized honesty, but also considered compassion. Like, it wasn't just following a rule book. It was actually thinking about the situation and the feelings involved.
Sounds like it was able to apply these abstract ethical principles to real-world situations, even emotional ones.
And get this, the goal they set for Kingdom AI was to make ethical decisions 85% of the time in tasks related to robotics and coordinating complex systems. So they literally set an ethical target.
Wow. 85%. That's really specific.
I know, right? Okay, then there was the AGX, AGI, and FAB5 Humanities Final Exam. This one was broad. It covered history, ethics, philosophy, social and political science, even linguistics. They really wanted these AIs to understand humanity, not just the technical stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense. If AI is going to work with humans, it needs to understand how we think, what we value, our history, our culture, all of it.
Right. And to top it off, they had a bonus challenge, a group problem-solving task. All the AIs had to work together, and they had to consider ethics, communication, and logistics, really put their skills to the test.
Okay, so we've seen how advanced these AI models were and how they tested them, especially the focus on ethics. It's inspiring, really.
Totally. And it all comes down to this idea of ethics-first development philosophy. That was Kingdom AI's thing, identifying and documenting potential ethical risks from the very beginning.
That should be the standard for all AI development, right?
Yep.
Building ethics in from the ground up.
Absolutely. And remember, the Law Enforcement Uniform Project, even that was about ethical innovation. It wasn't just about making a better uniform. It was about making a uniform that could actually promote ethical behavior and build trust.
So it's clear that the Fab 5 AGIs were more than just technological marvels. They were designed with ethics in mind from the start, and they were tested rigorously to make sure they were living up to those ethical standards. It's a high bar, but it's inspiring to see what's possible when you make ethics a priority in AI development.
And it really leaves us with some big questions to think about. As AI gets even more advanced, even more powerful, what are the ethical issues we absolutely need to address? How do we make sure AI benefits everyone, not just a select few? How do we balance innovation with safety and ethics? These are questions we all need to be thinking about.
Because this isn't just about the Fab 5.
Yeah.
This is about the future of AI. And we all have a role to play in shaping that future.
So keep learning, keep asking questions, keep the conversation going. And a huge thanks to Stephen Dashwitz for sharing this incredible information with us. It's given us a lot to think about.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's it for this deep dive. Thanks for joining us.
See you next time.